Hey guys, my name's Michael. I am Vinylholics Anonymous, and I have a problem with vinyl, and I love the stuff. I've been collecting, I started collecting vinyl when I was a kid. My dad always taught me, and I don't know how true this is, but my dad always told me, buy the record and then tape it, never buy a tape. So for my whole childhood, I would always buy a record and then I would tape it and then carry the tape and try to keep the vinyl in pristine condition. And that was always kind of my thing. And then, like everybody else in the 90s, I sold all my records and bought CDs, and I had a great CD collection. And just in the last, I would say, 4 years, I've gotten back into vinyl. And luckily, I had kept some of the vinyl that I'd collected as a kid. And so I've got some of the records that were really important to me. Like I've got a pretty good Kiss collection when I was a kid. But anyways, that's not the point of today's video. Today's video is a review of Iron Maiden's latest album, Senjutsu. And first of all, let me just talk about my history with Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden, I think I first heard Maiden in maybe 83, and it was the riff in Number of the Beast that I heard. And I was a guitar player. I grew up as a guitar player, and I kind of progressively got into heavier music as I got older. First, I was into Kiss, and that was like the first heavy music I ever listened to when in the late 70s. And then I remember the first time I heard Led Zeppelin 4, and Black Dog really got me. And so then I became a Zeppelin fan. And then one day on the radio, I heard AC/DC's Back in Black, and that was like, holy shit. That riff, I'd never heard anything like it. So clean and crunchy and heavy. And then when I think I was in grade 8, one of the grade 10s played me Number of the Beast, just the song Number of the Beast. And then he showed me how to play the riff on guitar. When I first heard that riff, I'd never heard anything like it. It was so freaking heavy and so like perfect, just the perfect riff. So, of course, I learned it on guitar, and I became a massive Iron Maiden fan. And my first concert I ever went to was Peace of Mind in, I guess that was 83, I think that album came out. So that was the very first concert I went to. I was 13 or 14 years old. Saxon and Fastway opened. I remember standing, a freaking little kid. Like, I'm short now and 5'6" now, or 5'7", 6. And I was probably 5 feet tall. And I'm literally standing right at the front of the stage, front row, and basically could touch Fast Eddie's leg. Fast Eddie from Motorhead was playing with Fastway. And I can't believe my parents allowed me to go to that show. And I went down on a bus, and I'm from Richmond in British Columbia. And we'd take a bus for like an hour through the kind of slum, way into East Vancouver to go to a show. And I went to the show with one of my friends in grade 8 or maybe it was the end of grade 8, early part of grade 9, to see Peace of Mind, and it just like blew my mind. Amazing show. And I was just like a lifelong Maiden fan at that point. I even have, I don't know if you can see it, I've got an Eddie tattoo. But I will say this, especially in reviewing this record, I stopped listening to Maiden after Power Slave. After Power Slave, I started kind of diversifying my musical tastes, dated a girl that was kind of into more pop music, and I had been more exposed to pop, and I kind of got into a little bit softer music, a little bit more like The Cure and that kind of stuff. And while I always appreciated some metal, I kind of lost my Maiden thing. I think for me, I thought Maiden was just sort of like my youth, and then I kind of grew out of it, and I just stopped paying attention. I never listened to Seventh Son. I never listened to anything after that. Then about 10 years ago, I went to a Maiden concert. I don't know what album they were touring at the time, but a buddy of mine called me up and he's like, hey, you want to go see Maiden? I'm like, yeah, I do. So that was the second time I saw him, and I guess it was about a decade ago. Then about 3 years ago, or 2 years ago, I took my eldest son to see Maiden. We had seen Sabbath, we had seen AC/DC. We started taking our kids to concerts. And then I decided I was, going to take him to a Maiden show because he was about my age when I saw my first Maiden show. And of course, he absolutely loved it. It was the Legacy of the Beast tour, which was unbelievable. Yeah, just what an amazing show that was. And that was that. And then I thought, you know what, I'll take my younger kid to Maiden when he gets a little bit older, when they tour again. And then Senjutsu, that's my history with Maiden. Then Senjutsu came out, and I'm on Reddit, and somebody had posted, holy shit, Amazon has Iron Maiden's, like a colored edition of Senjutsu listed for $17. Get it, you know, somebody's going to get fired for listing this incorrectly. Get in there and buy it before it disappears. So I did, and so I logged in quick on Amazon, ordered it, and it never got canceled. And sure enough, about 4 days ago, this arrived, and holy shit, it was pretty damn cool. Now, I had listened to it digitally a couple times, and like anything, you know, it takes a little bit of time and a few listens to get into. So now I've listened to this album probably 10 times now. And today, before I did this review, I've decided to take some notes on it. And there's some stuff that I like on this album, and there's some stuff I freaking hate. And, so I just thought, even though this review's pretty late, since this album's been out for a little while, I just got my copy, so I thought I would share some of my thoughts on this album. And then I hope, now that my kids are in school, I hope to be able to have time to do some album reviews. First of all, the visual of this record, I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I'm sure you've all seen unboxings. Holy shit, is this ever an impressive presentation. The art is amazing. The color saturation is so vivid. It's amazing. I love the Eddie as a samurai. The detail in his face, etc., is really freaking cool. The inserts with lyric sheets are all really, really cool. Some super cool art on, as Maiden always does, right? It's always the album cover that gets you. The first time I saw the Killers album, I was like, holy shit, what is this? This is the craziest thing I've ever seen. So I dig these. They put together an incredible package, which, it's worthy of Maiden. This is probably my favorite one. I think it's just an amazing shot. Or shot, it's not a shot. Like Eddie's a real person. It is art. I dig the whole thing. I thought the presentation is really cool. The back cover is really amazing as well. Love it. So from a visual, the album is really freaking cool. One thing about my copy, I don't know if anybody else's is like this. I have one disc, and I don't know if you can pick this up, but it's like a light gray marble. And then the other two, sorry, I gotta get this thing in here. The other two, just open one of them, is more of a blue kind of charcoal. I don't know if you can see it, but totally different, completely different. Not that it matters. I've got lots of albums where my Run the Jewels, too, the two discs look wildly different. But anyway, it doesn't matter to me. But I'm wondering if anybody else, comment below if your copy looks like that. It's kind of interesting. And also the albums. This is something that pisses me off with records. When they write first of all, when you can barely, like I'm old, I got to wear glasses. When you can barely see which side I'm playing, when I was writing this review, I was playing the wrong side, taking notes, thinking it was a different song. But when they do this, side A, okay, blah, 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 and then it says, when they list the songs, and then it says other side, just freaking write on the side. Why do you have to say other side? Why not just make it this side? It just pisses me off. It's one of those little things that I shouldn't have to work to figure out what side I'm playing, for Christ's sake. That bothers the shit out of me. But anyway, let's get into this album review. And I had to take some notes because there's a lot going on with this record. I'll hold this and let's get into it. The first track is the title track, Senjutsu. I'm assuming I'm saying that correctly. It's a pretty cool song. The opening riff I liked. The drums are amazing. When I was blasting it on my system here, I have a pretty mid-range cheap system that sounds pretty great. These speakers, even though they're bookshelves, they pump. And when I just cranked it up, I had listened to it previously digitally. This was the first time today I was listening to it on vinyl. And it just was thunderous and amazing. And Nico's drums and that opening riff is just like, whoa, so powerful. So much better than when I listened to it on Spotify on my headphones. Bruce's voice is within his limits. And this is one of the things that it's going to get into a little bit with Bruce's voice, because I think that's kind of the weak point of a lot of this album. And no disrespect to Bruce. But I wish his voice was a bit growlier in that beginning. It's kind of flat. Like, yes, he's modulating and he's lower in the vocal range. He's not pushing himself right away, which something drives me crazy. But I wish it was a bit growlier. I wish it was a little bit kind of more enunciating and a little harder and a little more into it as he's telling this story. The solos are great as usual. Nico sounds amazing. I like Bruce singing that high melody while the guitars riff. I think that's really, really cool. And then there's something that I recognize in this album, and I don't know, like I've not listened to a single Maiden album since Peace of Mind up until this one. So I don't know if this is something that they started doing a while ago, but it pisses me off, and it's throughout every freaking song on this album. And it is when the vocal melody matches the guitar melody. And I don't know what their writing style is. I don't know if they're like Tool, where all the music comes in and then Bruce writes the lyric, or if the lyrics are written by Steve. I don't know what the story is with Maiden, how they do it. Or if Bruce writes his own vocal melodies, but he's reading Steve's words. I don't know. But every freaking song, the singing and the guitar match, and it drives me crazy. It sounds so shitty to me. It just sounds so lame and boring, and it's every song. God, it's so annoying. So I hate how the vocal melody and the guitars are synced that way. Liked the ending of Senjutsu. It was a cool song. So I'm going to be harsh on it because I'm a huge Maiden fan. I think Power Slave is the most incredible album. Killer. I'm not a huge Di'Anno guy. Like, I'm not, fucking Di'Anno guy yet, but Di'Anno kicked ass, and I liked his voice, and I think Di'Anno's voice suited Maiden more than Bruce's voice. I would have liked to have heard Di'Anno singing Number of the Beast. I think it would have worked well. Anyways, Stratego or Stratego. Yeah, Stratego. I hate that opening riff. I hate the way the vocals match the melody and sing over the melody. I hate the melody. I hate that melody. It sounds like shitty kind of 80s pop that is now like attempting to be like heavy. It's got a really familiar melody that just reminds me of like a shitty 80s pop. I can just imagine the video. It's just awful. I did like the gallopy pre-chorus and chorus. I like the shift after the solo. I like the pinch harmonics, which it's not something I hear of a lot with early Maiden anyways. Again, I don't know if this is something that they're doing all the time, but I did like the way that, the song changed direction a little bit and the guitars sounded a little different for me, which was nice. And Nico, of course, he sounds really, really great. This is probably a good time for me to talk about the production. I think it's a little muddy. I think it lacks a little bit of punch. I would have liked to have heard, I think the highs, I'm not getting enough highs with it. It's just a little mid-rangey. I push my EQ a little bit and it sounds a little better, but I don't love the production on this one. Excuse me. Writing on the Wall. I like the opening Western kind of Celtic style riff. It's kind of like stomping music. It's like, oh geez. I broke a couple of ribs mountain biking the other day, and now anytime I make a move, it's like, oh fuck. Oh, you should see me trying to get in and out of bed. Brutal. Anyways, Bruce's vocals ruin it for me. In that he strains way too much during the verse. Like, he just goes 0 to 100 right away. But the second part where it drops a little bit is great. But that first part, he goes right into that strained vocal. And this is going to sound throughout this whole thing like I'm shitting on Bruce, and I'm not. Yeah, I am. It's just, I know it bugs me. But when he drops back a little bit, when he sits back and kind of, and doesn't push himself so hard, I actually like it a lot more. And he does that in the second part. The chorus in Writing on the Wall is, oh my God, I want to kill myself. It is so freaking annoying. I just can't, it's so repetitive and boring, and Bruce's vocals really bother me during that one. There's no inflection, there's no modulation in anything that he's saying. It's just like, can't you see the writing on the wall? It's just awful. It's just so much. And they're not saying anything new, so why does it have to repeat it so much? I hate that chorus. I hate it. Then, I like the solos, and I do like the music. The vocal melody is just awful. Then we get into Lost in a Lost World. I like the intro. I like the heavy riff in the verse. I like Bruce's vocals on this one, and I love this one right up until the chorus. The pre-chorus isn't bad, the melody is good, but the vocals and the guitar doing that same melody just drives me mental. And then the chorus sucks. It's a lame riff, and the vocals suck. The music after the chorus is cool, but it's unnecessarily repetitive until those solos. The solo formula with Maiden is so predictable. It has just been done so many times. And you can tell exactly where it's going to go. The first solo and then the second solo, which sounds kind of different. It was so freaking cool in those early albums. Holy shit, I love it so much. The early solos are amazing, and Maiden is playing really, really well. All the solos sound like these guys are freaking incredible guitar players. The band they're amazing musicians. So what they were doing in the 80s with their guitar playing, they're shredding. Like these guys were shredding before people, like they're up there with the best shredders there are. So no disparaging on them, but it's been done. It's been done 100 times. It used to sound super fresh. Now it's totally expected, and that gets a little dull. The chorus on Lost in the Lost World sucks. I did like the outro. Then we get into Days of Future Past. I like the opening and the intro. It rocks pretty hard. Bruce's voice sounds really good. He keeps it within range, and I don't even mind when he strains when singing Days of Future Past. The song is a good length. This is one where they get in and out, and that's what they need to do more often in a lot of this stuff. Some of this stuff didn't need to be dragged out. Then we get into the Time Machine. I like the intro and the vocals. Really good, heavy riff. I was feeling that. Let me just change my page, y'all. I like the vocal melody on this one. And I like how it climbs in key. At first I wasn't feeling it as I was doing that, but then I was like, you know what? It's actually cool. I do like the way that climbs up in key as he hits each verse. I hate the cartoony riff behind the vocals. It sounds like Rush on, and I love Rush, so no disrespect, but it sounds like the Rush riff, which is like a Bugs Bunny kind of riff, I think. That's what it has always reminded me of. I like the breakdown, and I feel like Rush kind of does it tongue-in-cheek because it is kind of cartoony, but here they're doing it as their main riff, and I'm like, I don't know, I'm not feeling it. I like the breakdown into the breakdown before the solo and then into the solo is freaking awesome. I love that time change, and I like how the song ends, and it does not drag for me, which was really, really good. Never got bored in it. I dig it. Darkest Hour, I love the beginning of it. It sets a really, really cool mood with the gulls and the ocean. I like the guitars, the way they come in. Melody is a little predictable. I like the dramatic vocals. It's got a kind of a chill, sort of dark vibe. I was feeling it, and this is where Bruce really, really shines. He stays within his range. He gives himself more emotion within the lyrics, and I like that song a lot. That one worked really, really well for me. Then we get into Death of the Cults. I love the music, love the I love the intro, love the music. I really like the vocals and the melody. And I like how they stick with the groove for a little while. It's got a mood to it, and I was kind of feeling that. And then when they shift into that faster, heavier part, really, really cool. It starts kind of dark, and it's weird. Like it starts on kind of a minor sort of thing, and then it gets a little more uplifting into more of a major key. And I'm talking out of my ass. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, minor or major. Just anytime something sounds not so dark, I assume it's a major key, and if it sounds sort of, foreboding, I assume it's a minor key, so I may or may not be right with that. But it's got kind of a dark thing, and then it gets light, and then it gets dark, and then it gets light. I like that. The song doesn't get boring to me because the music's doing interesting things, and it doesn't have a repetitive vocal, and that's really key for me with Maiden. The Parchment, a lot of people really like the Parchment. I like the music and the vocals and the riff and the melody. It's got a good dark kind of feel, but I hate the repetitive vocal and riff right before the chorus. Hate that shit. The solos and the closing riff are very, very cool. It's a good song. There's just a couple things that I would do, and I think that's something that Maiden's guilty of here. It's just, if you're not saying something new, you don't have to say the same thing over and over and over again if you're not bringing something new to the equation. Hell on Earth. Hell on Earth, that's the last song. I like the intro. I like those strings. The slight kind of off timing was really, really cool. And it's kind of a journey. And so far, throughout this thing, this has been my favorite song on the album. It's got a uniqueness to it that I was really, really feeling. Then it gets into the jarring, it just kind of goes boom, like shifts gears completely into the generic Maiden gallop, which, yes, that's what we want from Maiden. We want the melody comes back in, and then it's okay again. I just was a little bit kind of like, oh, here we go, Maiden going. But then that melody from the intro comes back in. They bring it in, and it ties it all together. Because at first I was like, oh, you're taking the song in a totally different direction, and that's a prog thing. But there's got to be something that ties it in, right? You've got to come back to it. So they did that, which was nice. But then I'm just kind of waiting, expecting for Bruce to come in and wail over it, going, oh, Bruce is about to come in and fuck this up by singing, way over his range. Way over his range today because he used to have the range, and that's, whatever. It's like Paul Stanley can't even fucking sing anymore. He can't even talk without sounding shitty. So, Bruce is killing it. He's killing it. But I just wish that he would sing more to what his capabilities are today and bring some of that evil growl back in and that inflection. But he's just going for it. And and here, sure enough, that's what he does. He comes in and just wails over it. The guitar over the vocal melody thing, again, if this is something they've been doing previously, I wish it would stop. If this is an experiment on this album, I hate it and it's failed. So please don't do it again, Iron Maiden. This song, I feel like it should have been an instrumental. I really like the music on this one. The vocal melody just kind of sucks. It's just kind of like, it's annoying. I like the time changes, and I like the backing riffs behind the solos. I like how it slows down again. I like how the soft vocals and then the heavier part comes in before the solos. That's I think that covers all the songs. I don't think I missed anything here. So my final thoughts on this one, super cool art, some really good stuff on here. For me, Bruce is the weak part of this record. And I can't help but feel, and I don't know what Maiden does, but as I said, I don't know what they do, what their writing process is. But I feel like Bruce isn't connecting with any of these lyrics. I feel like he's just singing the lyrics that he's been handed, even if he wrote them. I feel like he's just singing the lyrics. I don't feel like he's telling a story. Like, I'm a crotchety old fuck. And when I listen to Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, he's telling an amazing story. When I'm listening to The Prisoner, he's telling a story. When I'm listening to Number of the Beast, he's telling this story. Everything that I love about Bruce in Maiden in those first, Number of the Beast, Peace of Mind, Power Slave, those first three Bruce albums. I'm not even talking about the Diano albums, which are freaking awesome, but those first three Bruce albums, and then I kind of lost track. He's always telling a story, and he's always giving it, and I feel like he's not giving it in this album. I feel like he's just going through the motions, and maybe it has something to do with the cancer, but I think if he changed his vocal style and brought it back to a more growly, inflectious, a little more feeling into what he's singing, as opposed to just trying to hit those highs that everybody knows him for, because yeah, he's got a great voice, but if he just back off on that, I think he could tell a much better story. That's my feeling. So would I have bought this album if it wasn't $17 on Amazon? Maybe, probably not, because I think it's like a $50 or $50 Canadian album. I don't think I would have bought it. Now, I'm going to listen to it, and I'm going to play it for my kids, and we're going to learn it, because I'm assuming Maiden is going to be touring this album, and I'm going to bring my kids, and we want to, Maiden has a tendency to play a lot of the new album when they tour, rightfully so. It's the new album, that's why they're there. And I think the stage is going to be sick. Whatever they do with this is going to look fucking awesome. Legacy of the Beast was such a great show. Just every aspect of it was so incredible. I know they're going to outdo that with this show. So of course I'm going to go. Got to go see Maiden. Best live band there is. So I got to know the music. And, you know, when I went to Legacy of the Beast, as an aside, there's stuff I had never heard before. I'd never heard The Wicker Man. I'd never heard, what's that Celtic one that they do? The Klansman. I'd never heard that before. And when I was listening to it live, I was saying to my son, I was like, fuck, this is awesome. I don't swear at him though, but maybe I did that night because it was a good show. And I was maybe enthused as But anyway, so there was some really great stuff that I heard that I'd never heard before that I really liked. So it's not like I'm just this tunnel vision on early Maiden and I don't like anything after. It's just, my musical, oh man, just that gesture just killed my rib. It's just, I'm into other stuff and I still like heavy music. Like I'm a huge death metal fan. I've actually gotten into more heavy music since I was a metalhead. It's like I was a metalhead growing up. And then I got into kind of like different stuff, and then I got into really heavy music after I got out of grunge. I remember one of my friends said to me, he introduced me to death metal. He's the guy I actually went to the Maiden concert with. 10 years later, he was telling me about death metal. I'm like, what is this? Is that even a thing? And then now, like, I'm a huge death metal fan. So it's not like I'm a metal guy, or I'm not a metal guy. I am super into metal. I am into hard music. I'm into everything. My music, my record collection has everything in it, from crazy first pressings of jazz into, some of the heaviest metal you'd ever want to listen to. So I've got it all in here, and I'm super receptive to a lot of music. I just think Maiden is not doing anything that interesting with this. It's not my favorite album. And I don't think I would listen to it again. I think I would potentially even sell it if I wasn't going to introduce it to my kids and then we weren't going to learn it. And who knows, maybe it'll grow on me, but I've heard it like 10 times now. And usually the more I listen to something, the firmer I get in my belief on it. I don't trust my first instinct on something, but by the 10th time I'm like, yeah, that song sucks, or yeah, that vocal melody kicks ass. It usually it reaffirms. Anyway, thank you for watching this. I have a tendency to ramble. I'm going to try to edit that out, or in future videos ramble a lot less. And like I said, I hope to be able to bring you guys a new record every week. It may not be new as in new release, but it'll be just something out of my collection that I review. Have a great day, guys.